Fresh off his appointment as NYPD Commissioner, Edward Caban spoke with Marcia Kramer in a wide-ranging interview covering everything from his approach on crime and cadet recruitment to what he hopes his legacy will be for his time in office.
So I just wondered, what it means to you to now be that person on the wall.
It was a proud moment for me, but not only for me, for my family. And like I said, just New Yorkers, a Hispanic community. There are people now who will never have to feel what I felt when I first walked into the police department.
What did you feel the first day? What did you feel?
I didn't know whether I belonged because I didn't have anyone that looked like me. And then my dad was a detective in training police, and I knew Hispanics in general contributed a lot to what we did as an agency. There was no one in the top echelon of our department that looked like me.
Do you feel like you belong now?
I know I belong now, Marcia.
So I wonder what you think your biggest challenge is right now.
I think our biggest challenge is perception versus reality. Why, as an agency, we'll never diminish the fact that people who are people of crime, while we'll never diminish the fact that people who are affected by crime, the impact it has on them, we have to also acknowledge that we are the safest big city in the world. Crime is down for the first time in 3 years. Subway crime is down. Shootings are down, violence is down, enforcement is up. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens by the hard work of the men and women in this police department.
How do you convince people that their perception is wrong, that we are safe?
I'm going to go out there every day, Marcia. That people are going to see me out in the streets. I'm going to walk with our cops. I'm going to walk into the neighborhoods, walk into the stores, walk into the subways. I'm going to walk with them and ensure that New York City is the safest big city in America.
So I guess the question is this. What's the line that you have to deal with on the one hand to convince to deal with public safety, and on the other hand people who are concerned about over-policing? Like, how do you meld the two together and make people understand that you have to do your job and that's what they want you to do?
So I've had the benefit of working in this department for over 32 years, and during that time I've worked in different neighborhoods, different communities. Every community I've went into, they'll tell me the same thing. They're not concerned about someone who has a brilliant mind, that can rattle off constant numbers. They want someone who has a compassionate heart. And I'm that person who has a compassionate heart. I'm going to go into your neighborhoods because I know how you feel. I'm a New Yorker. I lived here. I was born and raised here.
You know, the thing, I was just having a conversation with one of your aides, and we were talking about the perception that police are gun happy. And the truth is, he said, and I'm sure he's right, that maybe police fire their guns 20 times a year, total, in the whole police department. How do you deal with that perception that people think that police are just going to shoot you, when in fact, there's very little times that police actually fire their weapons?
Well, there are very little times in our agency we actually use our weapons. And no officer wakes up with that instinct that they want to go out there and harm any New Yorker. So right now we have lowest levels of force amongst police and amongst citizens.
Have you ever fired your gun?
Thank God I haven't.
But see, you're like typical.
Mm-hmm.
Most police officers haven't fired their gun.
So,
other than at the police range.
So just growing up in this department, I had a mentor. I mentioned that before, a first grade detective, my dad, and he always taught me, your best weapon is your mouth. Not what you have on your tool belt, it's your mouth. The way you talk to people, the way you treat people, doggone, you're more respected than any tool on your belt could ever help you.
So I know that you talked about your father's advice to you when you became a police officer. Take the test and you'll get you a place at the table. See, I was listening to your speech. But what advice did he give you after you got the big badge that's golden, like you can carry in your pocket?
Yes, he told me, don't ever change. Stay as you are, son. It's very, very important to him that as the police commissioner, I'll never, never change for every single New Yorker to know that I am one of them, and I will always be one of them.
So who is Eddie Caban?
Eddie Caban, just a kid from the Bronx, father of two. Love, love, love my communities. I love being out there. And my sole mission will always be, like I said, whether I'm a cop or whether I'm a police commissioner, is to help New Yorkers and make sure they're safe.
You worry about your kids being safe?
I worry about not only my kids, I worry about every kid. And when I visited the child that got shot in the hospital, the 5-year-old, the 3-year-old, the 6-year-old, that was always on my mind as a parent, knowing what these parents are going through. That always affect me. And that's the reason that I stay up at night to make sure these kids, the people in our neighborhood, are safe.
The reason I asked the question is that there was a study that came out yesterday that said they looked at people in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and a lot of kids said that they carry guns not to shoot other people, but to protect themselves and their families. Is that a statistic that shocks you? And is there something that you can do about it?
So we want to work with our children, especially our at-risk children. So I believe 2 weeks ago, the New York City Police Department hired over 1,000 summer youth kids. The City of New York hired 100,000 summer youth kids. We want to let them know they're a fabric of our community. We never want to make sure that any kid is harmed, whether by a bullet, whether by riding the subways, being a subway surfer rider. They're part of our communities.
But when you talk to school safety agents and they, get weapons that come into the schools, and it's not just a gun, it's knives, it's mace, it's brass knuckles, and they question the kids about it. The kids say, I got to protect myself. How do you convince them that they don't need to carry those weapons anymore?
We want to bring them into the fold. We have so many people that we work with. We have so much. We have Saturday Night Lights. We have our youth agencies. We have different commissioner of different commissions of community affairs that will work with them. Let them know that New York City will all together with War One.
So one of your problems is recruitment. I think the numbers I read yesterday were that you're down about 1,400 given the number of people who retire. How are you going to convince people that they should become police officers?
I'm very proud of the officers we have on the job right now. We have 700 recruits that just entered the academy July. We have 528 that are graduating in 2 weeks. If you look at our numbers, Marsha, we are down in crime for the first time in 3 years. CCRBs are down, stop and frisk are down. We are doing more with less. And those are the officers that I want to step on.
How's morale?
So we have a mayor who's a staunch supporter of the New York City Police Department and the work that we do. I'm a big fan of New York City Police Department. I was raised here. I'm going to be out there every single roll call, talking to our cops, letting them know how much I appreciate them. And I think they know that. And that's all of us, myself, Chief Department, Chief Patrol. We are all out there making sure our cops know they're appreciated and we respect the work they do.
But see, there's a problem in the city because we have a city council that has, one charitably might call it an anti-police bent. They want to defund the police, and they try their best to do other things, like pass other laws that make it more difficult for the police to do their jobs. So I wonder how you convince them, not only that you care, but that the city cares, and that there's not this constant attempt to try to rein them in.
So, Marsha, they have a job to do, and as police officers, we have a job to do. And our mission is to make sure that New Yorkers are safe. This is the safest big city in America. That's what we're going to do.
You're going to have to go before the city council at some point in your tenure, and you're going to have to convince them they need to support the police department. What arguments will you use to convince them that it's important to invest in the police department?
As far as policy concerned, I'll leave that to the policymakers. Our job is to make sure New York City is the safest big city in America. That's what we're going to continue to do.
Interesting answer. So I wonder if you had a message for New Yorkers right now, who are some who say they don't feel safe, some who wonder about policing, what would you say to them?
So that's what all New Yorkers to know, that as an agency, we'll never minimize the effects that crime has on people affected by it. We also have to let them know that this is the safest big city in America. Keep on going back to crime being down, subway crime being down, violence down. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens by the hard work of the men and women of the New York City Police Department. And I'm so proud of them.
So some of the people that I talk to say that they're concerned about like little quality, not little, but quality of life things. You know, people who ride their bicycles on the street, on the sidewalks. People who, have scooters that don't obey, and bicycles that don't obey red lights and make them feel unsafe. People who smoke marijuana outside in parks and subways and things like that. Is there anything that you can do with problems like that to convince people that we're not a lawless city?
So we get calls every day in regards to all our quiet life issues from our community partners, from 311, 911, and our officers are out there every day addressing those issues. And we're going to continue to do that.
Did you learn any lessons from Keyshawn Sewell?
In my 32 years in New York City Police Department, I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing police leaders. Keyshawn Sewell ranks him on the top, and I wish him nothing but the best in the future endeavors.
What about Bill Bratton? He was at the ceremony yesterday for the swearing in of the new head of Intel. Do you take lessons from him as well?
So in my 32 years, I had the opportunity to work underneath Bill Bratton, another brilliant mind, and I'll take the advice of those who came before me. But ultimately, any decision New York City Police Department will always rest with me.
So what do you think is going to be when you leave office, what will be the legacy of Eddie Caban?
I just think, or I hope that New Yorkers know that during my tenure, I cared about them. I committed my life, my service to them. And when I leave, New York City is the safest big city in America.
It's already the safest big city in America.
And it's going to continue to be.
But you're going to make it more safe.
Absolutely.
There were stories about Commissioner Sewell leaving because she was worried about micromanaging. Are you worried about the possibility of micromanaging from City Hall?
The mayor has his job to do, and I have mine. I think the mayor understands that I have my own independent voice, and I continue to have my own independent voice.
And do you feel that the thrust of this administration, which is to make the city safe, is an important one and an important message to get out to voters?
Of course, we have to keep on reinforcing the fact that this is the safest big city in America. It doesn't happen by chance. The men and women in the police department are working hard, day in and day out, to make sure every New Yorker is safe.
So when you go to sleep at night and you're thinking, oh God, I have this job, what am I going to do? What are you thinking? What are you worried about? What are the things that keep you up at night worrying about this city and the job that you just taken?
So like I said, I didn't just start this job. My job started 32 years ago, and it'll always be that same mentality to make sure New York City is safe.
Did you ever regret becoming a police officer?
Not a day in my life, Marsha.
Really?
Not a day in my life.
What was the best day?
Every day is the best day to me. Just walking around, talking to average New Yorkers. How you doing there? Talking to average New Yorkers. That means so much, making sure people know that in me, they have a part.
So what does it mean that you've now broken the glass ceiling, that you now are the first person of Latino background to become the police commissioner, and what kind of a message does that send to others coming up?
I think representation matters in positions like this. I think no matter who you are or what you are, there's a job to do. And I'll always do that job first and foremost. And as a leader, I have to also understand that I have to look forward, being cognizant of the fact that people are looking at me. So for me, if I do my job, I'm helping the people behind me and making it easier for them. That'll be my job.
But I noticed a wonderful display of ethnic pride the day you were sworn in. You came out after the ceremony, you waved the flag, you posed with members of the Hispanic Society. That must mean an awful lot to you. It must go to your heart.
It touches my heart, it touches my father's heart. Look at him, look at his eyes, how proud he was. 178 years, Marsha, and now we're here.
He was crying. That must have touched you.
Of course it does. He set the path for me. He's one of those people I talked about setting the path, making it easier for those coming behind you. And not just my father, there are a lot of Hispanic leaders that paved the way for me, and it's my job, so now we pay that favor and pay the way for others.
So do you think that that's going to help you in recruitment, that it's going to help you get more people from the community to become police officers?
So if you heard my speech, the NYPD wants you, the NYPD needs you, and the commissioner has plenty for you to do. So come join us.
So when you go out and give these speeches to people, what's your pitch going to be? That this is a great job, you're not going to get paid more, what?
I don't think any police officer takes this job for the pay. I think every police officer, majority of police officers take this job because they want to help people. I want to help people. I heard the stories from my father, how wonderful it is. And every day was a different story about how he interacted with New Yorkers and how he was able to change their lives, even for that one little second.
So, this is your city. We're looking at the skyline of New York. What are your hopes, your dreams, and your fears for what lies ahead?
This is our city, Martha. 8.8 million New Yorkers, and not a hope. I know we will continue to keep this the safest big city in America.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell New Yorkers?
Thank you very much for your time. And Marsha Kramer has wonderful shoes, beautiful
Thank
shoes.
you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
You're going to be great.